And I looked her straight in the eyes and I said, "It is." And she was like, "What?" I said, "It's already written." And we wrote How to Be Brilliant in 4 days. We set this mission and then everything changed. I mean, like literally within 2 months. I would take a job that would be for 500 people for half the price that I would take a job for 50 people. And people would say, "Well, that's crazy. You should be charging more for the big one." No, the mission, the vision was to positively influence 1 million lives.
Michael, welcome to the show.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am. I've been looking at this in my diary now for the last few weeks and thinking, I can't wait to have this conversation. I cannot wait. And now we are having it live.
We are indeed. And this is a very special podcast, not just because it's with the legend that is Michael Heppell, but this is the very first episode that we've ever had where the guest has been on the show 3 times. So that is now an honor. Of all of the things you've accomplished in your extremely accomplished career, Michael, you can now add that to your bio.
I'm putting that on the front page of the website.
Yeah, been on Will Polson's podcast 3 times. Well, there's a very good reason that you've been on 3 times. So for anybody that's listening to this and has not heard it, you're new to the North Star Conversations podcast, then Michael is, quite frankly, a legend. I very first came across this book, Once Upon a Time, which was the original book that a friend of mine suggested for me to get, called How to Be Brilliant, Change Your Ways in 90 Days. Fantastic book. And then years later, when I got into the industry, I reached out to Michael to be on a webinar when I used to run something called Will's Webinars, and it was just incredible. The value that this man has is just immense. Incredibly incredible author, done some amazing things. But we're here today to talk about this new book with my very special Will's copy sticker on it, which for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see this. See, smile, say hello.
That's it. I've got one without a Will sticker on.
Not as special as mine. Not as special as mine. But it's Michael, you had a mission. So let's start with North Star, your personal North Star, because what I loved when I first read How to Be Brilliant was you had a mission, and that mission was to positively impact 1 million lives.
Yeah, and it was interesting because for my first few years in business, I didn't have a mission like that. It wasn't there. I just thought I just wanted to go out and run a business and make some money and do some stuff. That was it. And I remember when I started to employ people, how difficult it was to get people, those lovely people, on the same page as me, because everybody had their own version of why they were there. And then I worked with a coach. It was a guy who actually became the chairman of my company for a little while. And he said, "What's the mission?" And I said, "Oh, well, we want to do this." He said, No, that's the stuff. What's the mission? And can you articulate it in a few words? And I said, "Yeah, I want to positively influence 1 million lives." And I don't know where it came from, but I just said that. And he went, "That's brilliant. Let's make sure everybody knows." So I said, "Right, I'll tell the staff." He goes, "You have to make sure everybody knows, because it'll do a few things. One, it'll help you make decisions. More on that in a second. Secondly, all the team will be on the same page. And thirdly, it'll help when you sell what you do for people to know what they're getting. You know, it's the product. It's quite difficult to sell personal development. It was quite difficult to sell being a better individual because you've seen what you do." So we gave this message out to the team, and we had a lovely team of people. I mean, we didn't make any money then. Seriously, Will. Every single penny that came in went straight out on salaries. My wife, who wasn't running the business at the time, she used to say that I had a babysitting service for adults. Because as soon as I thought I needed a marketing person, I needed a finance person, I needed 3 salespeople, I needed a technical person, I needed a receptionist. I mean, we needed a receptionist. What the heck was that about? I needed a PA. I had all these people who were working, but everyone pulling in slightly different directions. We set this mission, and then everything changed. I mean, like literally within 2 months, we were taking phone calls, we were taking inquiries. And the first question that somebody in sales would ask, especially if it was for a keynote, is how many people would be there? How many people are going to be there? Because if it was 10 people going to be there, great. If it was 1,000 people were going to be there, brilliant. Because we want to get to the 1 million people as quickly as possible. So we use that as part of our decision-making process. And I would take a job that would be for 500 people for half the price that I would take a job for 50 people.
Mm.
And people would say, well, that's crazy. You should be charging more for the bigger one. No, the mission, the vision was to positively influence 1 million lives. And I can do that in a couple of ways. One, getting in front of people. Two, have people read my stuff or listen to my stuff. So the second phase was then, right, how do you get out to more people if you can't stand in front of them? Because I realized that talking to 1 million people face to face was going to take a long time. I mean, having said that, I estimate that I've presented to 500,000 people in live audiences, which is a lot, but it took me 30 years to do that. But anyway, I came with this idea to create an audio program. And, you know, you're too young to remember this, but there was a company called Nightingale Conant. And they used to send out a mailing every week. You used to get the mailing on a Friday or a Saturday morning, and they would have 6 cassettes that you would buy. And you used to buy these things, 6 cassettes, and it was Brian Tracy, and it was Zig Ziglar, and all those people, you know, the real classics. And I used to frequently, like not just once or twice a quarter, like every couple of weeks, would say, I'm going to buy this. And it was 60 quid for a set of 6 cassettes. I got in touch with the Nightingale Conant people, and I said, I'd love to record a 6 cassette audio program with you. And the people in the UK weren't exactly the most cooperative. Let's put it that way. They didn't think I was well known enough. They didn't think I was going to be good enough. They talked around it a little bit, and it didn't happen. I thought, sod it, do my own. So I decided to do mine on CDs because that was the future, CDs. So I created a 6 CD set, and it's just here. This is it. I'll show you if I can grab it. There we are. And I wrote on the front, number 1 of 5 million.
Oh, wow.
I didn't see that. Number 1 of 5 million, 4th of February, 2003. So that was my 6 CD set, and I managed to get a screen test with what's the shopping channel called? I've forgotten the name of the
QVC.
QVC. Thank you very much. But I've just made myself go blurred by doing that. There we are. I'm back with QVC. I passed. I got. They said, right, this is what we're going to do. I sent them this. This is 2003. It was rejected. You know why? Too much plastic packaging.
Wow.
I thought I was quite visionary at that time. I hated them for it, but I thought it was pretty good that they were doing that. Too much plastic packaging. They said if you shrink the packaging and you make it so there's less weight and less stuff to carry, then we'll do a QVC with you. All sorts of things happened. That never happened. But I did meet, because of the CDs, a guy called David Bell. And David Bell was director of people at Pearson, the publishers. And I gave him a set of CDs as a gift, and he looked at them and he said, is this a book? No, he said, well, it should be. And he introduced me to Rachel Stock, and I've told the story many times before. Rachel Stock said, I love it. I love the idea of this book. I think we'd like to publish it. It'll come out next year. I was like, what, a year away? This was Easter. So weird about this time of year. Easter time, and I said, no, it has to come out this year. I've set a goal. By then I was into this idea of getting a book published. I've set a goal. I want it to be published this year. And she went, well, it can't. Well, in fact, the only way it could happen would be if it was already written. Because if it's already written, I've actually got another author who's failed to hit their deadline. You can take their slot in production. And I looked her straight in the eyes and I said, it is. And she was like, what? I said, it's already written. She went, you've never mentioned that. I said, I know, but it's ready. She goes, well, I'd need the manuscript on Tuesday. So this is Thursday, Easter weekend about to come up. I left, met her in a hotel in Leeds. We live in Northumberland. I came out of the hotel. I rang Christine. I said, cancel everything this weekend. We're writing a book. And we wrote How to Be Brilliant in 4 days. Got the manuscript, drove the manuscript back down to Rachel, who lived just outside of Leeds, and then hit the deadline. So it was published that year, just within a few weeks. And that was when things really took off, because that was the big multiplier. So you can see that this timeline, trying to positively influence 1 million lives and doing, 2,000 in the first year, 2,500, 5,000, 90,000. It just went boom, 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 and that was the book. It was the year of straight after How to Be Brilliant was published.
And I love that for so many reasons. One is the setbacks. You had the setbacks, yet you continue to move forward. You had the mission. You helped come up with the mission. You aligned your actions. You know, if what you said of if it was 500 people or it was 50 people, you'd halve the price because it was about the impacts and having the biggest impact possible. Then obviously QVC saying no, right? We were still going to find a way. There was no matter what it was just a bump in the road, and you move forward. But it wasn't without having challenge and trials and tribulations along the way. And then it went on to become, well, it did phenomenally. And you've written some amazing books now. I mean, obviously, How to Be Brilliant is one of them. The Edge, Flip It. You are a Sunday Times #1 best-selling author. And I mean, how many books do you think you've sold now in total? Would you have any idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I can tell you, as about a year ago, I did a check. I checked in with the publishers. There's some editions which are quite difficult, like India, How to Be Brilliant. They think that there's maybe 100,000 were sold in India, but they don't know because they don't really didn't keep records as well as they could. Which, you know, as an author, you kind of go, I wish you had kept good records. I'm not worried about the royalty. I'm worried about the numbers. I just need to know. But I think it's around about, probably well over 500,000 books now, maybe 700,000, something like that.
Yeah, and this is what I mean about when I talk on the podcast, I talk about people's North Star evolving. It can evolve, it can develop, and it isn't just one thing, because the goal was originally to impact 1 million lives, but it's evolved on since then, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when we got to a point where we realized that we were close to hitting it, and we measured everything, Will, that's the other thing. One of the things about what I love about your idea with North Star is measure stuff. How do you know? What's your metrics for this? How will you know if you're on track? How will you know if you've got to adjust? All that type of stuff, you know? So waking up with a dream is one thing. Knowing that you're achieving that dream, that you're heading in the right direction, that you're heading north is the key. And we measured absolutely everything all the time. So we had exactly how many people we'd seen live, how many people had bought audios, how many people had, were reading books, all that type of stuff. And we saw ourselves getting pretty close, and we thought, right, we need to do this last push on 50,000. And if we can do this last 50,000, then we're going to hit the target. And then immediately we had this big celebration. We had a party, and we did all the stuff that you would do. People were going, well, what's next? 10 million? I was like, no, because the fire wasn't there. So I thought, I need to rethink this, and I need to think about the person who I am now. So I changed it, and it was a subtle change, but it meant a huge amount, which is I now want to positively influence every person I connect with. And one of the good things with that is that your ego drops because you're not doing numbers. The 1 million was lovely. I mean, it's a nice number, but the ego drops. The other thing is that I can question myself on that every day. Have I positively influenced everybody who I've connected with? So my brilliant wife, Christine, will call me out on this sometimes. So like on a train, if somebody's a bit nasty and I kind of, I'll get off before you or whatever, she'll just sit to me, you're positively influencing that person right now. I'm like, oh God, of course I'm not. I'm being a dick. So then I'll kind of go, sorry about that. Yeah, after you. They go, oh no problem at all. And then suddenly that's a thing, a small thing.
Yeah.
And I love doing that, you know, and I do it all the time. I get, you know, I like you, Will, I get emails pretty much every day from people who say, can you just give me a bit of advice? You know, or can you help me with? We're coaches. It's like, you know, somebody who has a butcher's saying, walking in, can't just have a bit of bacon. You know, it's our product. But at the same time, I want to be able to help people. So if somebody leaves, if I've got their phone number, I call them. If I've got 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I just pick up the phone, I just ring and go, hi, it's Michael Heppel. Oh my goodness, I just emailed you 2 minutes ago. I said, I know, that's why I'm ringing. You said you wanted some help with. I've got 10 minutes now. Let's have a chat. And I love doing that because it's within my gift to be able to call that person at that moment, not expect anything at all from them. And then just when I put the phone down, think that was a nice thing to do. That was a good thing to do. And guess what? Sometimes those people come around and want to be coaching clients, or those people want to book you for something else, or they know somebody, or, you know, I had a thing the other day from a guy who Christy and I used to go and visit. Actually, he was a lovely bloke. He was in worked for a company. He got in touch and he said, "I'm homeless. I'm living in a car. Can you help me?" And I thought, flip me, that sounds like a Tony Robbins story. I'm living in a car. I was like, you should become a personal development trainer. They all lived in cars. So I was like, yeah, what do you need? And he said, just something to eat. I was like, oh, shoot. So we knew where he was, and we went to see him, and Christine was brilliant. She dropped like a load of stuff off, and we gave him a bit of cash or whatever. Anyway, he got himself sorted out after just a couple of months. Went on to do really well. He's done so well with his business. And I promise you, every single year on the anniversary of that time when we went to see him, he just drops a note and says, do you remember a year ago, or 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think it is now, when you came to see me and I was in that car park? Man, that's better than selling 50,000 books. Yeah. Well, it's not quite as good as selling 50,000 books, but it's good.
There's something I want to take from this though. So I had a similar thing. I used to say I wanted to impact a million people. Then it became a billion people, and now I've just dropped the number. And I think something important happens, which is the difference between something being something that you have. I have done this, to being something that to it becoming a way of being. Yeah. And it's your way of being. It's just the way you are, Michael. You've embodied that now. I impact everybody that I connect with in a positive way.
Yeah, that's the goal.
You mentioned Nightingale Conant. It's funny. I've been emailing recently Diana Nightingale, who was Earl Nightingale's wife.
Right. Okay.
And we've been having some correspondence, and his original definition of success, or Earl Nightingale's definition of success, is the oh wow, it was in my head a moment ago. The pursuit of a worthy ideal. And it's that constant process, that thing that you're willing to do over and over again. You can never quantify achieving impact in every person that you meet, other than it's just a way of you being. And that's where I think of that North Star being the mission in life that's the equivalent of trying to empty the sea with a spoon. It's the thing that you can never actually achieve it.
Yeah. But knowing it is the thing. And it's weird because some people do this without thinking about it. They don't even know that they have a North Star. Other people think they have. They probably haven't really. And some are searching for it. And I would say when you're doing the searching for it, do something else in the meantime. It'll pop up. If you don't know what it is, just do something with a load of passion, a load of enthusiasm. You'll either go, oh, yeah, that's it, or it'll lead to something else, or you'll know what you don't want to do. But do something.
Which brings us nicely onto the book.
Yeah.
Because see, smile, say hello. I mean, they certainly sound like instructions to have some sort of positive impact on people that you connect with. Yeah.
Well, look, first of all, thank you for your input into the book. You are mentioned several times, and I credit the whole, almost every chapter has something called the ripple effect. And you gave me that idea for the ripple effect. And I think it's a customer service book. It's unashamedly a customer service book. I do believe that the ripple effect of great customer service goes way beyond that interaction of just you and that individual at that time. So the way this book came about was I wanted to write something else on customer service. My original customer service book was called 5-Star Service, 1-Star Budget. When the new edition came out, my brilliant publisher decided that they were going to drop the 1-star budget part, which I thought was the best bit. I thought that was the hook. 5-star service, 1-star budget. Brilliant. No, it's renamed now. It's now called 5-Star Service, How to Deliver Exceptional Customer Service. Great. But that was 15 years ago, and things have changed. Things have changed a lot in that time. We are very much in a digital age. People's expectations have changed. People want more. They want to pay less. They expect things to be bigger, bolder, better than ever before. And our job is to provide that. So a few years ago, a great friend of mine, a guy called Jonathan Raggett, who is the managing director of Red Carnation Hotels, one of the best hotel groups in the world, took me for dinner to a place called Galvin Windows, which is on Park Lane at the top of the Hilton Hotel there. And he said, I'm going to introduce you to the restaurant manager. It's a guy called Fred. You'll like Fred. So I said, oh, great. Okay. So I meet this guy, Fred, and it's Fred Siriex. So if anybody who's seen First Dates, it's the maitre d' from First Dates. And I met this guy and I was absolutely enamored by him. And so I went back and I took some clients. And he remembered me and he remembered stuff about me and he looked after us really well. Then I went back again and he'd given me his number by then and he said, look, if there's ever anything or email me, we'll look after you. And I took a few people and there was one night I was talking to him and he said, what are you doing tomorrow morning? So I'm heading home in the afternoon, nothing in the morning. He said, why don't you come along and watch a briefing? I think you'll like how we do staff briefings. So, oh, great. I'd love to do that. So I went on the next morning, got there at 11. All the team are sat round and the chef comes out and explains what the specials are going to be. And they did a little tasting or something. And then Fred said, okay, are we ready? And everyone was like, we're ready. He said, okay, let's do it. See, smile, say hello. See, smile, say hello. You've got like 40 people all chanting, see, smile, say hello. See, smile, say hello. Go. And I was like, what was that about? And he said, it's the fundamental of customer service. See your customer before they see you. Smile at them before they smile at you. Say hello before they say hello to you. And I was blown away, but I was like, that is such a brilliant concept. I love it. I love it. I love it. And he went, well, watch what happens during the service. And the number of times he would have to go up to a member of staff and say, see, smile, say hello. Oh yeah, sorry, Fred. They forgot to smile. They forgot to interact with people. It was that whole thing about knowing it and doing it. And this is in one of the best restaurants with the best service. So I loved it. I used to tell the story about Fred doing this as part of a keynote. And I thought, actually, it's a great title for a book, but I want to go deep with this. See, smile, say hello is the surface. Underneath, what is there? So seeing people is about how do you see people as individuals? Everybody has their own unique needs. What are they? How do you impact those needs? What type of stuff do we need to do? How do you personalize service? Smile is about emotional connection. And it's got a lot of the classic stuff, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. How are you going to really make sure that you have a connection with people at an emotional level? Because if you've got great emotional connection, people stay with you. If you have a poor emotional connection, people leave. They blame price, they blame other things, but it's never about that. It's about the emotion. And say hello is about communication. And we've got more methods to communicate than ever. And it's how do you use the best methods for communication, whether it's language, whether it's AI, whether it's email, whether it's, before, during, after experiences to communicate with your customers. The other thing that I do is I completely redefine who customers are. So my definition of a customer is anyone who isn't you.
Wow. Okay.
Now, the reason for that, is because if you literally just think about those individuals who are coming through the door of your shop or your consultancy or whatever, it's very limited how you just treat those people really well. But what about your suppliers? You need to treat those people really well because your suppliers are going to make or break you. Your team. What about your family? Sometimes you're going to have to go and work really hard. You're going to have to put in a 14-hour shift. Well, if you treat your partner in a disrespectful way or they don't understand what you're about, or when you had an opportunity to put a deposit in their emotional bank account before you've taken a withdrawal and gone overdrawn with them, wouldn't it have made more sense to have thought about them as a customer and how am I going to impact their lives? So if you think about it, it's everybody who isn't you, it becomes a habit. It becomes a behavior rather than customer service is something I do when I'm at work.
Yeah, I've often spoke about, and I love the way you've just explained that there, because it's never even dawned on me about suppliers. So I talk a lot about internal customers, external customers. So internal customers for me have always been staff. External customers have been your clients or whatever. Yep. And the idea of just making it an interaction, coming back to this, it's just a way of being, isn't it? It's a way of being and operating on a daily basis.
Here's such a simple example. You have a supplier who does your website for you, and you you look after them really well. You pay them on time. You notice on LinkedIn they've done a post. You comment on that post. These guys are brilliant. Check out my website if you want to see the great jobs that they do. Whatever. They suggest that you should upgrade your security. Great. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That's great. Thanks very much for letting me know. Something goes wrong one day. Right? Something collapses. It's 4:00 on a Friday afternoon. You get in touch with your website people. What do you want them to do? You want them to drop everything and look after you. How do you get that? Because you put deposits in their emotional bank account, first of all.
So let's because we've spoken about that on the show before. So let's for those that haven't heard the concept of the emotional bank account, to avoid any confusion. Let's explain.
So it's like a real bank account. When you're in credit, it feels good. When you're overdrawn, it feels bad. When you're on the cusp, it's a worry. You just don't know where you are. What a lot of people do is they wait until they go overdrawn and then they try and put deposits in to make it up. It's never going to work. Be a regular saver. You know, if you meet any rich person, they were always regular savers. Very few of them suddenly got a load of money overnight. It's always like, I put some money away, or I did this, I invested in that, I did this, I did that. So it's the same with the emotions. Be a regular saver. I call them wee wows. So rather than trying to wow people with big grand gestures, just do lots of little things.
What's an example of some lots of little things? Because I know that you've said before about sort of it really can be the small things that can lead to really like small data and personal service and those components. So what are some examples of that?
That's one of the things we talk about in the book is about small data. Because big data, everyone's talking about big data. Oh, we're going to use this. We'll use AI to do analysis on all of our customers for the last 20 years and find out all these trends and stuff like that. And then you forget somebody's name. So I've got a masseur, and she's brilliant, called Sam. And Sam said, I have a customer who comes just once a month, but she needs her feet set up in a certain way so she can enjoy the massage. And the only way I can do that is if I position things on the bed in a certain way and do this. And she said, and I love doing it because every time I remember to do it, she's thrilled. She kind of goes, oh, you remembered my feet? Said, of course I do. I've got another person who likes the room at a very particular temperature. And she said, I'm fiddling sometimes with a radiator or the window, trying to get the room to be exactly the right temperature for this person. Because that's important for them, for their once a month massage. Now, I go every week to see Sam because I just think it's brilliant. And we talk about this and we talk about the importance of it. And then she'll say, but you just do this so naturally, Michael. And I said, I don't. I really don't. I have to work at this all the time like everybody else. And that's why a hook like a See, Smile, Say Hello is a lovely hook. It reminds you to work at it. You need other people to help you to be accountable. I mentioned Christine a lot because she's brilliant at keeping me accountable. If I do I do a thing on every Monday. I do a thing called Magic Monday Live. If I don't do a Magic Monday Live, I get people getting in touch with me going, I was waiting for Magic Monday. They never comment when I do it. They never let me know whether they've liked it or not. But if you miss one, oh my goodness, they'll let you know. I love accountability. If I didn't have it, I'd just be sat around twiddling my thumbs and watching daytime television.
I've said for years that high achievers want accountability. They want to have their feet to be held to the fire. They want to know, where was I? How can I improve? How can I get better? And a lot of people, I think, when they first think of accountability, is I don't want to be nagged. I don't want to have someone to tell me what I'm doing, what I shouldn't be doing. But I just think it's the biggest thing with accountability. It's a mindset shift. High achievers want accountability.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. But you know what? It's that thing. Nobody likes being told that you've done something wrong. So sometimes when I'll do stuff, especially in customer service, people say, I wish my team were better. And I'll say, okay, are you catching them doing something right? Like, go back to the old 1 Minute Manager. Remember that old book, The 1 Minute? Catch people doing something right. And they're like, well, I say, as soon as you've said, well, it means I know you're not. Get out there, be with them, catch them doing something, tell them about that. Then they'll have that moment. Oh, that feels good. Give them, 3 wee wows that you want them to achieve during that shift, you'll find that they'll do it. And then big them up for doing it. And I often say, do you know anybody who's getting too much recognition? Nobody does. Everybody wants a little bit more recognition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing, I don't know what your personal opinion on this is, but I often find that for most people, and I appreciate that there's some people who don't like this, is if you can praise them in public as well, it amplifies the situation. But equally, to criticize in public amplifies as well. So I tend to take the approach, I criticize in private, but I praise in public, and then
absolutely
you can move people forward in that respect. In terms of creating a team. So if people right now, if they go, okay, right, I can get on board with this. I can see how customer service can apply to everybody, not just staff. And I'm going to embody this as part of a way of being. How can you, aside from doing a see, smile, say hello chant with everybody at the beginning of every day, get them to be proactive and take ownership of how they can make this difference from a customer service perspective?
It's one of those things everybody knows that very few people do it, is treat your team like they're your best customer. You've got to be out there doing it and seen to be doing it. If you think Ritz-Carlton, who are the number one customer service organization in the world, their creed is ladies and gentlemen treating each other as ladies and gentlemen. That's not for customers. That's for their staff. That's for each other. The respect that they have for each other, the way they ask each other to do things, how they are there for each other. I once had a meeting with one of the general managers from Ritz-Carlton, and he explained how they'll do stuff like where setting tables, right? So they'll have a morning where all staff will set tables. That's all they do. They have the ballroom set up. They come in, gardeners, maintenance, front desk, everybody. They'll all come in and they'll all set tables. It does two things. One, it shows that, we're a team. We're all there to do stuff. It gives you respect for that person. It's quite difficult to set a table in a ballroom. The third thing is, if they've got an event and the conference is running over, they're using the same room that night, and it's all hands on deck. They've got gardeners, plumbers, finance people, back office staff, whatever, who can all dive in and they know exactly what to do. So that to me is brilliant. So little stuff like explain what your job is to somebody else. Share what your job is. Share your role. Newcastle United, my team, I love what Eddie Howe has done with Newcastle United. When a new player comes to Newcastle United, they'll go into the dressing room and Eddie Howe will say, tell us a story about yourself. They don't want to know about football. Tell us a story about you. And you have these people who talk about, I grew up in Brazil in this place and it was this and I had this. And then they just let them chat. And they get that respect for the individual. And people say, what an incredible team. They're so tight. And if you've been there for 5 years, it's your turn. Well, tell us a story about you. And they do this in the dressing room on a regular basis.
Making sure that everybody
tell us a story about you. Wow. Bound to be successful.
Without a doubt. You said that obviously you wrote the book 5-Star Service. That was 15 years ago, and lots of things have changed digitally, and I mean, arguably the world in general has changed a lot. What are some key things that are different now in the new book that enable people to build trust, create loyalty, and really continue to deliver that outstanding service that maybe didn't exist 15 years ago?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. But one is speed. People want things a lot faster. This idea of, I would send an email to customer service and they'll come back to me 48 hours later. Forget that. It needs to be instantaneous. AI is obviously huge. And who embraces it as well? Who embraces new technology? It was very interesting. So I did quite a bit of research and I thought, it's going to be younger people who are going to be embracing AI. And it's not. It's the middle-aged people. They're the ones who are embracing it. Young people are often threatened by it from their jobs, and then also have this strange kind of almost an entitlement type thing, like, I demand to speak to a human. Whereas people who are, in their 30s, 40s, 50s are like, yeah, I'll chat to a bot as long as I get the result. I just want to get the result. So that's very interesting, what's happening there. I think having to do more with less. We have to be more resourceful than ever before. And, where there used to be teams of 10 people doing stuff, there's now 5 doing the same stuff. So we have to use our resources in a more effective way. And then probably the big one, I would say, is about having a much more of a global view. So even 15 years ago, we were still talking about, UK this or Europe that or whatever. Now it's a global view. Everybody is everywhere all the time. And there's no surprise at all that somebody from, in Africa would contact you, or somewhere in Asia would contact you, or the Americas would contact you. That's quite normal now that would happen. Whereas when I remember first writing about, you may get an inquiry from somebody in this country, what would you do about it? Now it's like, when you do, here's how you deal with it. And understanding culture. Understanding culture is critically important.
And what do you mean by that? Because of the fact that we've got the globe, you've got global access, you mean? So
definitely. So I think in the past, people would have had a thing where, well, if you mess up with, pronouncing names, or you mess up about, what religious ideals might be or whatever, they would be quite forgiving. Now people kind of go, well, have an expectation that you would know a little bit of something. It's that idea about having a go with somebody's language. You don't have to be perfect, but if you have a go, people love it. And it's a weird thing, because people go, oh yeah, but what if you get it wrong? What if you're disrespectful? It's intent. If your intent is to do the right thing, it comes across brilliantly. We were in a restaurant in Spain a little while ago, and this guy came over, and his English was really challenging, right? Quite challenging to understand, but he was having a go, and he kind of went, so where are you from? Where are you from? I said, a place called Newcastle, and he went, why I man, right? Boom, instant rapport, right? Even he did the worst Geordie accent ever, but he just went, why I man? And we went back to his place like 3 or 4 times because he had a go. So I think that type of thing's important.
For sure. It makes me think of as well. So funny enough, this week, one of my team members, Mika, she's been with us 6 years. She's based out in the Philippines. And there's so many little nuances that we didn't understand when we first started working with her, because I've only ever worked for English companies. I've only worked for with English colleagues, really. And to then be able to have that and understand that and get that's different. But that's one thing with them being on the team, let alone then being customers and seeing how people do things differently in that respect. When it comes to the mission, and I just want to bring it back to your original personal mission of being able to create these interactions and get people doing these things, what is it that you hope for the people that embody? I mean, this book is full of super, super, super practical tools that people can use. I mean, it's 50 individual chapters, really small chapters, but so many practical things that people can use. What's your hope for the people that read the book?
I want them to test it. Don't try, test. If somebody comes up to me and says, Michael, I read the book, I've done everything in it, it makes no difference, I'll give you the money back. But don't say, I've read the book, I know that. I was out for a pint with my next door neighbour the other day, and we went to a local pub, and they've bought the book, which is lovely. It's our local, and the landlady's bought the book, and she went, oh, Michael, great to see you. How are you doing? I've got your book. And I said, how's it going? She goes, well, reading this, there's a lot of stuff in there that we already do. And I said, that's why I'm here. I said, that's why I'm having a pint in your beer garden, because I know you already do it. She goes, but there's some great reminders. I was like, that's what I want to hear. And she said, and also there's a couple of things, and I felt a bit guilty because we don't do them. I said, well, don't feel guilty. Just think, wow, this is a superb opportunity. What can I do? So I'll often say, the secret isn't in the knowing, the secret's in the doing. There's so many experts. Oh my goodness. There's zillions of experts out there. Every single thing that's in this book, you could probably look it up on Google and you'd get some version of an answer there. But knowing and doing are two different things. So what I want to do with everything I write is to give people a reason to go out and test it. So there's often a little story, an introduction to the technique, the tool, and then the challenge to go on and do it. So there's one bit which somebody said to me the other day, what's your favorite chapter? I said, well, it's hard because there's 50, but one that pops into my head all the time. There's a chapter called Malaga Eggs. And we were in Malaga doing an event, staying at this hotel, and Christine ordered scrambled eggs. And then an omelette turned up. So she looked and she went, oh, that's interesting. She went, excuse me, I'd ordered scrambled eggs. And I went, oh, sorry, went away, came back, and there's kind of containers, those round containers, like half a tin, and then they put the stuff in, the scrambled egg in, and they take it off, so it's kind of in that shape. It's not like sloppy scrambled eggs. It's quite nice there, with a little bit of garnish on the top. That came along, and they put it down, and Christine looked at it, and she just fiddled with her fork, and she went, that's the omelette. I was like, I said, no way. She goes, they've chopped the omelette up, they've put it in a scrambled egg mold and brought it out. I said, they won't have done that. She goes, have a look. She goes, look. And then she gets a piece and it was like clearly an edge bit of omelette. So we said, excuse me, we'd asked for this and you seem to have brought back. And she goes, oh no, we wouldn't have done that. So, well, could you just go and check? So this person went away and she came back, and it was a different one who would originally talked to. She went and she came back and she went, you're absolutely right. They've chopped up an omelette and brought it back out as scrambled eggs. And we laughed about it. But we were thinking, should we stay here for dinner tonight? Should we come back to have dinner in the hotel? We were like, no way. If they're doing that with breakfast, all they had to do was just to be honest and say, look, it's going to take a little while. We're busy in the kitchen. Is that okay? Fine. We would have accepted that. Everyone would have accepted that. So this idea. So now we say, if you want Malaga eggs, it's a chopped up omelette.
Yeah, maybe that's a new trend. You get a new
that's how it starts.
a new breakfast. But there we go. That's it. The thing that comes to my mind as you say that, it's funny you talk about restaurants, is I will often say to people that if you think of your favorite restaurant, and most people, a restaurant comes to mind,
yeah.
It's almost never because the food.
Yeah,
it's almost always because of the service that you've been given. And it reminds me of a time I went to there's an amazing restaurant in Essex called Vita Bella. One day I'll take you there, Michael. The level of service at Vita Bella, and a special shout out to Chip who owns it. The level of service is just unbelievable. And the thing that sticks in my mind was one day I'd been drinking. My partner at the time was drinking, so it was obvious we wasn't going to drive home. And when we asked for the bill, paid the bill, and then said, can we order a taxi, please? And he said, I've already ordered you one. It's waiting outside. And I just remember being bowled over. Like, oh my God, he's already done it. What a mime. How did he know? Now, the reality is he could have just had a taxi waiting out there the whole time, because he's probably got 10 guests that are all going to be leaving at that point. But the fact he did it.
Yeah, he could have been hoping you were going to leave because you would have been a bit leery.
It could have been that. It could have been that. I mean, escorted out the restaurant. But the very fact that there was probably going to be someone at some point who needed a taxi, and to be able to just have it there.
That's brilliant.
Was an example of that for me, is that level of taking that level of service to the next level and depositing, as you put it, into the emotional bank account. Big
deposit. So I have got to know Tom Kerridge a little bit over the last couple of years. And Tom Kerridge he's brilliant. He's really, really brilliant. He's one of those people, Michelin stars, all that type of thing. And I interviewed him and I said, I'm doing this book. I said, what's more important? Brilliant food and average service, or average food and brilliant service? And he said, if you'd asked me this a few years ago, I would have said, it's all about the food. It is undoubtedly about the food. He said, but now it's different. It's not that. Now it's all about the service. And he said, and you can make up for food that isn't quite so good. He said, but you can't make up for service that isn't so good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So we've got 50 chapters in here, and I appreciate this is going to be a bit like trying to pick your favourite child, but what would you say is your favourite chapter or tool that people could apply? And for some people, it will be a reminder. For some people, it will be things they're already doing. And for other people, they've never even thought of doing it until now. What would you say is your favourite, Michael?
Well, other than Malaga eggs?
Other than Malaga eggs, yeah.
It's a funny one. I mean, it's weird. I'll have a quick look at the index and just see what Well, I think that's the type of thing I should have ready. Okay, so look, there's a one here. Chapter 4. I would have bought the Mercedes because it's one of those true life stories that you could never make it up. You could but how I nearly bought a £38,000 car that I couldn't afford, but how they messed up brilliantly because they didn't do one thing. So I would have that in the C section. In the smile section, confidence versus arrogance, because people worry that you're going to come across as being arrogant when you try to do outstanding levels of service. But it's impossible to do it if you know the difference between confidence and arrogance. And in the say hello section, I would say chapter 31, social media, the Colosseum of customer service. And I link the whole thing, the thumbs up and the thumbs down, because that's a like is the equivalent of Caesar saying thumbs up, you live. The thumbs down means that you're going to die. And the Colosseum is social media and how people sometimes pile in, and how at other times you may be the underdog, but you can win. You can win because you put yourself out there for the people. So there's 3 of my favorites.
Now, I want to touch into 2 of those. One of them, you said the thumbs up and thumbs down. So Gemma and I, we ordered an Indian takeaway recently, and the food was so below par, it was ridiculous. Now, I almost never will complain, but this time I felt I really felt compelled to want to say something. And I think that again is one of those things. Most people, if they get good service, they expect good service. So then they don't think, well, why would I give you an outstanding review? Why, you've got to do something really outstanding to get that review, but you've only got to go a few notches down to get the thumbs down in the Colosseum. Confidence versus arrogance.
Yeah.
What's your definition?
Intent. The reason why you're doing it. If you're doing it for you, it comes across as arrogant. If you're doing it for other people, it comes across as confident. I've seen it so many times, and that's with everything. Will, so you can have a look at people. We are living in the world of influencers now, and people who have this, I've got to be on social media, I've got to do that. And you see some of them who are producing wonderful content that's entertaining and it's fun and it's generous. And you see other people who are going, look at me, look at me, look at me. And you think, why are you doing that? And it's because they're doing it for them rather than for the person who's watching. I saw an amazing thing the other day. It was just extraordinary. It's a person who's not an influencer. It's a person who runs online courses who's done very, very well, and good for them that they've done so well. But I remember that person when they first started, it was all about the customer. It was all about how they can help them. Now it's all about them. And there's the picture on the back of the yacht. There's the classic, flew in a private jet, 28 pictures of the private jet inside. There's a, hi, I'm just calling in to say to you guys how great it is. And I've got some new stuff coming up. And I just wanted you to know about it and how much I care about you. Birkin bag in the background. Just strategically placed so you could spot the brand. It's like, who are you doing this for? Who are you doing this for? And then the mega fans all piling in with, oh, wow, you're amazing. Oh, wow, you changed lives. I'm just thinking, I wonder how many other people are thinking, maybe not quite appropriate right now. I'd love a Birkin bag. I would. But actually what I'd really like is just to create some income to give my kids a nice holiday this year or to feed my kids or whatever. And I think people not understanding where we are right now as a world. You see it on breakfast television. You see it on morning television. Saw it the other day, this morning, one of the presenters on there, Ben, is talking about the problems at the airport. He was, I was just going for a golfing trip with my mates on the Friday. I got caught up in all of this and we were flying off to such and such and we were going to the lounge and all that. I'm thinking, Ben, people who are watching this are not going off on golfing trips with their mates. And if they are, great. They don't need to be told by you. A lot of these people are sitting in a flat in South London. Be real. Just be real. Talk about real stuff that real people have to deal with. And you go and have your golf trip, but don't tell people you're doing it. I never tell people where I'm going. I never tell people I'm going on holiday. Because it's like, well, 2 reasons. One, I want to protect the house. I don't want people to know that I'm away. Stupid to tell people that you're away. Secondly, Who cares? Who cares what I'm doing? People want to know what's in it for me. So I think that's the difference between confidence and arrogance.
And I think that's an incredible definition that lots of people, when you reflect on it in that way, you can really get an understanding of where things are coming from. Well, Michael, look, we could chat, as we often do when we get together, for hours and hours and hours. If people want to get the book and they're thinking, do you know what, actually, I want to see how I can improve my customer, my service to others, whoever that is, whether it's family members, whether it's suppliers, whether it's clients, customers, they want to have that ripple effect. How can people find out about the book and your other books as well?
Easiest thing, michaelheppel.com. Everything's there. So it's just my name, Heppell. I'm an E-double-L Heppel, the unusual spelling of Heppel, not an E-L or an L-E, an E-double-L. And just go in there. Everything's got links. It'll take you through to wherever you might want to be. And then just connect. You know, I'm one of those people that I love using LinkedIn for what LinkedIn was designed for. So if somebody connects with me and they say, do you know somebody? Oh, I see on your contacts you've got such and such. Can you connect with them? And I'll say, look, I might know them that well, but of course I'll do a connection. Or if you have a question, then post that. Let's help each other out as much as we can, because I do believe that, you know, when you do that, it feels great. It doesn't even have to, I don't want anything back. I just want to feel good with my mission that we talked about at the start of this chat, Will, which is about positively influencing everyone I connect with. So connect with me, see what we can do.
Well, what we'll do is we'll put a link to the website in the show notes so that people can head straight to the website, and we'll put your LinkedIn there as well so people can connect with you and reach out. And once you've read the book, go and let Michael know what's the chapter that's had the biggest impact and made a difference to you.
Now, before we wrap up, can I just say something? Because right, I know how hard you work at doing this type of stuff. Right, it's constant. It really is constant. And I think for people who are listening, just to stop for a moment and say, thank you, Will. Thank you, Will Post, on behalf of all the people who listen to these things, all the people who watch you. It is a scrap sometimes to get content together, to get people together, to maintain the output that you have. So thank you. And I'm honored to have been on 3 times, been interviewed with you now. I hope there might be a 4th. If I can maintain interest, that would be great. But Will, you are a superstar. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate the kind words. And for everyone that's listening to this or watching this, so I actually keep Michael I regard as a dear friend. He was one of the first sort of personal development people that I got exposed to when I first read his book. And I've had the pleasure of getting to know Michael and his wife Christine very well. We've spent time together, but I actually keep a photo of Michael and I and Gemma that sits right in my I have a picture frame. It literally sits inside the frame where I've got a picture of my family as well. So I often have Michael looking over me eagerly when I'm working away. So your words really do mean a lot, Michael. Thank you very much. They really,
it's a pleasure. And the reason why we got that photograph is because it was a horrible day in the Lake District. And we were in the Lake District at the same time. And I said, well, we got to meet up. He goes, well, we're meant to be climbing. I know you were going to be climbing
Scaffold Pike.
Yeah. And the weather was shocking. So instead, we got together and we sat in a lovely lounge and had a cup of tea and a catch up. It was great.
And you potentially saved our lives that day as well, because I was saying, yeah, it'll be all right. It's a little bit of rain, bit of bad weather. No such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing or whatever the saying is. And then you're like, no, Will, I don't think you understand. You really shouldn't be going up. And I'm glad we didn't. So certainly grateful for that. And obviously we got to spend some great time together. So one thing before we do go, Michael, what's one question that you wished more people asked you?
Oh, that is such a good question. One question I wish people, obviously I would like them to say, how can I book you to do a keynote? Where can I buy your books? I'd like more people to ask that. But from a personal development point of view, I would say, how do I do that? Because it's that thing about a lot of people know stuff. It's the how that I really want to push all the time. You know, it's interesting. I did a launch event the other night for See Smile Say Hello, and somebody said if you could add one more word onto the title, said we love the title, See Smile Say Hello, what would it be? And I said, repeat. See, smile, say hello, repeat. Because it's never a one-off thing. So I would say find out how to do something, find out the how, and then do it over and over.
Love that. So that's the thing that people can go away thinking now is how am I going to do it? What's the action I can take to move forward? And you've got a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of resources. Go and get See Smile, Say Hello. Go and buy the other books, buy Flip It, buy How to Be Brilliant. They truly are fantastic books. So go and do that. And again, I'll put the link in the show notes to Michael's website and also to LinkedIn so you can go and connect with him. So Michael, thanks again. Thank you so much for being on the show.
My absolute pleasure. And Will, thank you for being my customer. What Will hasn't mentioned once is that he bought 24 copies of See Smile, Say Hello the day that I launched it. He was one of the very first customers. He is a person who walks the talk. So thank you.
My pleasure. And for everyone that's been listening, until next time, live a life you love. Thank you for listening to North Star Conversations with Will Polston. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Share it with just one person that you think will benefit from it. My North Star is to empower people to transform excuses into results and live a life they love. And this show exists for that purpose. And you can help make that a reality too. By liking, rating, reviewing and sharing the show, you will help the platform algorithms do their thing and get North Star Conversations in front of more people so they can benefit from it too. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Until next time, live a life you love.